Yes, greetings, my brothers and sisters. Greetings to the whole world. Yeah, yours truly, Chrissy B. Hamotep, and I'm here to really share in the earth strong of the great, late and great Mr. Barrington Lincoln Minott, better known around the world as Sugar Minott, who today would have been celebrating his 64th birthday. And now, born on the 25th of May 1956 in Kingston, Jamaica. He passed away in the summer of 2010. And I remember coming back from somewhere and I was listening to the radio, one of the BBC channels, and the announcer had said that Sugar Minott had passed away, and my head was spinning. I could not believe it. That Sugar Minott had passed away. He was supposed to do some tours and he had to cancel the tours prior to him passing away. It's such a shame. But he's left left behind a big legacy. Great body of music. Started singing with the African Brothers in the early part of the 70s, and along with Tony Toff and Harold Donald, and he broke away from the African Brothers when they went to Studio One and done some songs. One of the songs they did was No Cotton Brock, which at the time wasn't released. But Coxsone Dodd, the founder and manager of Studio One, had released the song sometime afterwards. It wasn't a hit song. But he liked Sugar Minott. So he told Sugar Minott, when Harold Donald and Tony Toff had left, he told Sugar Minott to stay behind, and he liked Sugar Minott. And he said, I like you. Youth, I like you. But Sugar Minott said when he went to audition for Studio One afterwards, he said a lot of the other singers went with guitars, with instruments, but because for many years as a youngster he was singing over Studio One rhythms, and this is where the dancehall thing came along, and that's why he's credited as being a father and one of the founders, if not the founder, of dancehall music, because what he was doing with those vintage Studio One rhythms back in the 60s as a young boy, Sugar Minott would make his own songs up to the classic rhythms of Studio One. So for example, of Alton Ellis's I'm Just a Guy, he did Vanity, and so on and so forth. So when it came to the point where he went to Studio One to audition after Coxsone Dodd told him to stay behind, and because he liked him, he wanted to groom him because he was very young at the time. He was 16, 17 at the time, maybe 18. And he said, look, Mr. Dodd, the band you've got at this moment in time, which at that time was the Brentford Road Disco set, and so on, and some were also referred to as the Underground Vegetables, which were bands that came out of the likes of the Soul Defenders and the Sound Dimension, which were the backing bands at Studio One back in the 60s. He said, you know what, Mr. Dodd, the bands that you've got here now, they're not really saying anything. Look what I can do. And he demonstrated what he could do to Coxsone Dodd by using some of the vintage classic rhythms, like I mentioned, of the 60s, especially the rocksteady period of the mid to late 60s and the reggae period of the late 60s. And he voiced over them using his own rhythms. So he would take a classic rhythm and make his own songs up, and nobody done this before in reggae music and Jamaican music history. So Sugar Minott was the first one, and hence it became known as contemporary dancehall. So what you have was a lot of singers would follow this formula. So then you'd have people like Johnny Osborne, who was at Studio One at the time. They had people like Freddie McGregor, who was at Studio One at the time, and other musicians, some lesser known than others, would use the vintage rhythms that Coxsone Dodd had in the 60s and early part of the 70s and make different songs up. But Sugar Minott was a trailblazer in this sense, because he'd started all this like like a revelation. And now, ever since then, throughout the 80s, 90s, and to the current day, you get a lot of these artists who do go back to the old school and re-sample rhythms and use recycled rhythms. But Sugar Minott was the first one to do it. It was done before, because in the ska days, sometimes because of economical a lack of economical power, a lot of the producers would use sometimes the same backing track to voice a number of singers, but it wasn't a regular thing. But when Sugar Minott came along in the mid to late 70s, 77, and did it and demonstrated that Coxsone, look, all your old vintage rhythms, which are classic rhythms, the Bob Andes, the Ken Booths, the Slim Smiths, the Alton Ellis, the Wailers, all of those guys who was recording for Studio One in the 60s, even the ska days. give them to me, and I could make, I could make my own songs up to them, because I was doing this when I was a youngster, when I had my sound system in Kingston, and that's what he did. And ever since then, that's why you see so many of the same rhythms with different singers and different songs on Studio One Rhythms. And now all the other producers ever since then have copied this formula. Bunny Lee, Prince Jammy, King Tubby. Mind you, some of the producers were very inventive in creating their own original rhythms, but really the formula started with Studio One, and a lot of other producers, which we'll have to go into another time because it's a massive story, would really use Studio One rhythms and update them. Like Channel 1, for example, Joe Gibbs, for example, in the 70s. One day we'll do a show around this. Yeah, so Sugar Minott would have been 64 today, and he passed away. What did he pass away with? Some said he passed away, it was a heart attack. He passed away suddenly, and he really went into production, giving the youths a chance in the tail end of the 1970s. After he left Studio One, he had a big hit with old Mr. DC over the pressure and slide rhythm, the tenors. Oh, DC, don't you touch my Asian, one of my favourite songs of all time. That was the #1 on the Jamaican charts in 1979. And after that, he did about 2 albums for Studio One, and he did a number of singles for Studio One, and then he left because he wanted to elevate himself, and he wanted to also give back to, which was now a new generation of young up and coming promising singers, the likes of Barry Brown, the likes of Tristan Palmer, the likes of Barrington Levy, the likes of Little John, and so many others. They really just, Junior Reid was also another one as well. And so he set up a youth promotion in 1979 with the label called Black Roots. He also had another label called Youth Promotion as well, but originally it was a Black Roots, the record label, with a big design of Africa in the middle of the label. So you had, normally it would have been a red label, with a yellow label with an Africa, with the map of Africa in red. But sometimes the colours varied. It depended, because a lot of labels of that time, and even now in this time, they sometimes vary in colour. So sometimes to be a bit more creative, the producer would change the colour of the background, and sometimes the colour of some of the fonts and some of the writings would be different colours and so on. But originally the actual background was yellow, and the map of Africa was red. And Black Roots at the top, someone's written red, and various other colours, And then there you have it, And so he passed away, one of the greatest voices in the whole history of the music. A lot of people's favourite singer. As I said, the man who eroded dance hall, and the one who really gave a lot of the young singers at that time a massive chance to make an impact, because a lot of other producers were rejecting some of these singers, the ones I've just mentioned, and Sugar Minott opened up youth promotion to give back and to ensure that the singers had somebody to support them, had help them with the songwriting, help them with the production of the songs. Of course, he was the principal producer, but he had people around him, the likes of Sly and Robbie, who helped with backing tracks, and people like scientists who helped with the engineering aspect of things as well. And so there you have it. And then he opened the door to them and helped them to really make a big career for themselves. And some would say that he to the detriment of his own career, he helped others. He helped others to the point which made he helped others to get a foothold and to get their foot through the door, to the detriment of his own career, because he was helping so many other artists. His career suffered as a result of that, but he still was able to pull out so many recordings and so many songs. So here, just to say, what would have been, just to say thank you to Sugar Minott. Would have been his 64th birthday. Thank you for the things you've done for the artist. You've left behind a lovely legacy, a wonderful legacy, which your sons, he's got many sons, he's got daughters as well, who we hope that carrying on his legacy of the youth promotions and the Black Roots label and so many songs. I remember years ago seeing him on Top of the Pops, and my grandfather said to me, when the Good Thing Going came on the Top of the Pops many years ago, my grandfather said to me, I remember when that record came out some years ago. I remember buying that record. So he's a very, very popular artist, and he crossed over. So he's one of our foundation singers from the dancehall period of the 70s, and he made it big internationally. I remember some years ago I went out when I was playing somewhere, and this young lady came up to me and said, "Oh, can you play me Sugar Minott, please?" So it just goes to show you how revered this man is, how he's held in such high esteem, and that lovely silky voice. In actual fact, he said that he didn't get his name because of his honey voiced dulcet tones. He got his name because as a youngster, he said that he used to like eating sugar. So a lot of his friends, play friends at the time and school friends, would call him Sugar because he loved eating sugar, and he was a bit tubby as a result. But he never got the name of Sugar because of his wonderful honey voiced dulcet tones, as some people think. Yes, he's got a wonderful voice, honey lovers rock, honey coated beautiful voice, but he got it because he loved sugar as a youngster, and that's where the name came from, and it just stuck ever since. So once again, thank you so much. We say honor to Sugar Minott and his family and his fans worldwide, one of Jamaica's greatest voices, and a man who's left behind a wonderful legacy, helped so many artists. And we say thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Imhotep. Spread the word, share it around, like all of our videos and share them. We'll say thank you so much. Peace out. Blessed love.